I have to warn you here that the segment we're about to do is, if you have young children in the room, don't let them see this video. We have played it a couple of times, but it is the video of a young man in Chicago. Here we go, roll it. He was an apparent innocent bystander. He was attacked during a brawl between two neighborhood gangs. He was knocked unconscious with a piece of wood. He had been beaten and kicked several times. He later died in the hospital. Young man's name was Derrion Albert. He was 16 years old. Let me tell you a little bit about this kid. He had just started his junior year in high school. He was on the honor roll. He'd received awards and excellence for attendance. His grandfather said Derrion had never been a fight in his life. When he was 14 years old, his grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. He weathered that. He went to go care for his grandmother when she was sick. Derrion's sister says when the family came up upon one of his Christmases, they had saved for 2 years to buy him a computer. He loved it, and that's where he spent most of his time. Of the 4 men charged with the crime, 1 was on probation for a 2008 robbery conviction. When I saw the video, I said, what have we turned into? Who are we as a nation? This isn't capitalism that has failed us. It is the absence of morals and ethics and an absence, really, of God. My next guest, however, saw something that I could have ever seen, because I have never been on the receiving ends of beatings when I was a child because I wanted to be better. Charles Payne, CEO of Wall Street Strategies, also from the Fox Business Network, and good friend. Hi.
Hi,
How are you, sir?
Good.
Charles, you wrote an amazing piece. As soon as you saw us talk about it, you said, you got it all wrong. Explain.
When I was a kid, I grew up first half of my childhood as an Army brat. Ironically, I was born in New York, I was born in Harlem, but immediately we moved. We lived in Pittsburgh a couple of times, Texas a couple of times, Germany. We lived in Japan, we lived in North Carolina, Virginia. And life was just, it was just incredible. It was just, we left our doors open, we'd leave in the morning, play with our friends all day, come home.
Typical American.
Typical, every color friend. Maybe I had one wrestling match, but never knew of fighting or anything like that. And, one day I came home from school, and my mother said we're leaving. Her and my father were having problems. So we get on a bus. I'm the oldest, 2 younger brothers and my mother. And we ride up from Virginia to New York, Harlem, a childhood friend of hers, and she lets us live in a room in her apartment. And it was just completely night and day. It was, the shock, Glenn, is just amazing that we got beat up every day for speaking like white people, sounding white, wearing the wrong clothes. And the thing is what happened, what I saw what happened, the way it felt to me was like, there's just so much pent-up anger and animosity that kids like this kid you just talked about, they have to hide their intelligence, and they have to hopefully be able to escape.
Didn't you get a Christmas present of a briefcase?
Yeah, that was probably one of the, outside of the physical beatings, one of the things that hurt me the most is we had nothing. When I said nothing, I started working. I've been working straight since I'm 13 years old. We had nothing, but I always wanted to be a businessman. So one Christmas, my mother bought me this plastic briefcase. It was incredible. I was really elated.
How old were you?
Either 12 or 13. And I was just happy because I always wanted a briefcase. And inside was a special gift, a bonus gift of a calculator. So then I took my briefcase to school, and one day we came back from lunch, and my briefcase, a plastic briefcase with lock, it was cracked open. There's nothing in there. Everybody in the school, we're all poor. We have nothing, and
why do you suppose that happened?
There was just really a lot of animosity toward kids who, again, if you spoke white, if you got an A, there was a tremendous amount of animosity. Just not jealousy. I'm talking about animosity that was acted out. And
where does this come from, Charles?
I really believe, honestly, and I believe a lot of this goes back to when black Americans accepted this liberal premise that we're not accountable for anything, that because we're descendants from slaves, that, it's okay, it's not your fault. You're a victim, it's okay. And they've created this sort of pull, it's not just a physical ghetto I'm talking about, but a mental sort of barrier where you see okay, Michael Vick is a victim of the justice system, not a person who committed a crime. That mentality is pervasive. You see it, and it's over, and it's fed to us, and it's fed to us, and it's fed to us, and we accept it, we take it. And at the end of the day, what we're getting for it, you know, we wait for our welfare checks. We wait for it like, you know, people wait for it like, I'm waiting for my check, like it's something I worked for, you know, and it's taken away everything, everything that God gave us innately, that you know, man, if you put two people on an island with nothing, innately they're going to have a certain desire to survive, to thrive, to do better. All of that's suppressed in our community. And what's left is just this sort of squalor where I got to tell you, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you were born in that neighborhood, Glenn, you probably would have been one of these kids swinging a bat. And if you weren't that kid, you'd be one of these kids hiding his intelligence.
You've never seen me swing a bat. That'd be me. I want to take a break, and I want to come back because I want to bring in another guest who's a preacher out of Texas, and he is an expert. I mean, he is, I think, self-educated expert on the early American progressive movement, early 20th century. Every single one of these people, Woodrow Wilson, you know, our military was not segregated. I mean, we had whites and blacks serving together, and then Woodrow Wilson came in, a progressive hero, and he segregated again. These people were racist. Planned Parenthood was to get rid of the undesirables, right. Okay? That's what it was all about. I don't know, and I have to ask the pastor about this, I'm not sure. Is it because they care so much, or was it originally just to be able to have fuel to get their progressive movement going? Back in a second.